Hey, it's Matt Newton here from the Web A to Z podcast. You are listening to episode number 80 of this show, and it is a pleasure to be with you once again. And just before we dive in, let's just thank our sponsors, gathercontent.com. You know who they are. It's a service for web design agencies and anyone who has to manage the process of gathering content. They make it so much easier. Use the discount code WebAgency Podcast for a lifetime 15% discount. They'll help you make the process so much more easy than gathering documents all over the place and trying to collect them at Basecamp or whatever it is you're currently doing. You can just figure out all the layouts in the software, get them to fill out the fields, and away you go. Check it out, gathercontent.com. Also, Remark, remarq.io/WAP to get the samples of the designs. But our Remark is a service that allows you to create beautiful PDFs on the fly using markdown documents. No more dragging anything around in Adobe InDesign or whatever the heck it is that you use. Remark just make it so much easier. I've used it, and I can say that it does help things make a damn sight easier. So check it out, remark.io. Great. So let's dive in. Well, it's a pleasure to have with me Kris Reid from Ardor Media Factory.com and ArdorSEO.com, coming all the way from Cambodia. How are you going, Kris?
Yeah, great, Matt. Thanks for having me.
So, coincidentally, you're the second person in a few weeks to be an Australian who's got SEO play based out of Southeast Asia, and it's a complete coincidence that this has actually happened. But why don't you tell us your story about how you came to be in Cambodia, Kris?
Well, how I actually came to be in Cambodia, I was running away from a woman, and turned out I didn't run far enough. But my original plan was to move out to Asia for the cost advantage, and I first moved out to the Philippines, and that's where we set up our office in Davao, because Philippines has got a great bunch of workers with really good English skills, and so we've been in the Philippines for 3 or 4 years now. And then I came back to Cambodia because I do really like living here, and it has a lot more access to expats. And as our company's evolved, I want a lot more people that are native English speakers, so they can interact on a more personal level with Americans and Australians and Brits.
So you dropped for just half a second there. So the place that has people who can interact on a more personal level with Americans and Brits was which place?
In Cambodia, in Phnom Penh. Yeah, there's a lot more access to expats.
All right, so that's kind of interesting. Have you worked to hire expats in Phnom Penh?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're pretty new in Phnom Penh. We only moved here at the start of the year. But, we've already got a project manager who's from Belgium. He's got heaps of great experience working on really huge projects. So as our team's really grown, he's got skills that I don't have. So, he's enabling to get more efficiency out of our team and better communication and help us grow to the next level.
Okay, so that's actually very, very interesting. So did you move to Phnom Penh because of the additional access to expats?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first time I came here was about 4 years ago, and jokingly, I was running away from a woman when I was living in Russia. But I met lots of good people here and saw that there's lots of expats from all over the world. It's a really fun place to live, so people want to come here and live. And Serge is his name; he's my project manager, and he just really enjoys living here. It's more fun than rainy old Belgium, and so we're a good match for each other. And that's why we're here.
All right, let's step it back a bit. I want to hear a bit more about the story of your business. What is it that you actually do, and how did you come to end up doing it?
Well, I'm a software engineer myself, and I used to work in the UK. And as the global financial crisis hit, I lost my job, like pretty much every software developer working in finance.
Wait, you're from the UK or?
No, I'm from Australia. I just moved there after I finished university.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say the accent, yeah.
But I moved back to Australia, and I started playing around building an online game just to learn some new skills about how to do web technologies. And as the game was coming to completion, I started working out, how are you going to get people to play it? And so I started learning a bit about SEO. And at the time, I was kind of more interested in traveling the world than building a business. So I spent the next 2 years kind of backpacking around and worked out that I could make money selling SEO. And the cornerstone of SEO, especially back in those days, was backlinks. And so I built some software to manage a backlink distribution center, and we slowly grew from there. And the majority of our staff was Filipino, and the Filipino teams kept growing and growing. And then I ended up asking those people, where's the best place to live in the Philippines? And they unanimously said Davao. So I booked a ticket and went on over, and I could see that it had everything I was looking for. And so we quickly set up office there, and quite a lot of the people that used to work online then moved to Davao and started working for our business there. In fact, our second ever employee, Blaze, she now manages our team in Davao, and she just came to Phnom Penh last week to meet our new project manager. So it's pretty cool to have such longevity in our staff.
All right, so a couple of angles there, but when you decided to start this, to really expand on this SEO link building kind of thing, you were already well into traveling around the world. Yeah,
I mean, I'd backpacked for about 2 years, spending time in Russia, Latvia, the Caribbean, most parts of the world. And I'd just been working kind of enough to get by. Wasn't really too serious about it. But then, as my money started running out, I got a little bit more serious about it. And my business grew, and I became more professional, and hired staff. And by the time I was ready to set up office in the Philippines, I was very serious about it.
So how did your business grow?
Well, when I was just playing it by ear, just having fun with it, it just seemed to be like money would trickle in, just when I needed it. It was perfect for me to get from one stop to the next stop. But then when I really wanted to settle down and make a go at it, I had to learn everything about marketing, about building better products, and it was really stressful, and it was really tough, and it was touch and go. It's at one point it's been real difficult over the years. It's a lot about learning and evolving. Don't be afraid to fail, and fail quickly. Learn from your mistakes. We've tried so many different marketing ploys, and some work, some don't. Don't be afraid of the ones that don't, and when you find ones that do, then focus on them and scale them as much as you can. And that's what we've been doing over the last 2 years, and it's been really great growth. I mean, this year we've pretty much had 10% growth month on month. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about that transition from hand to mouth to making some genuine income. What were some of the ploys that you tried then that worked to get you more customers?
I mean, I tried everything, like LinkedIn marketing, Facebook marketing, direct marketing, with everything from cold calls, cold email to cold contacts on LinkedIn. All of it has some effect. One thing that I've found that's really beneficial is connecting with your customers and getting recommendations from them. So even just yesterday, I connected with all of our new customers on LinkedIn and sent them a request like, would you mind saying a few words about us? Because then that's something you can go and show to other people, because it gives you instant authority, and they can see, well, you work with these guys and it'd be good to work with us, especially when you've got some customers that are big brands or big names,
which it appears that you have been able to generate over time. So really interestingly, so you didn't really strike upon one method, so to speak. You just kind of just threw a lot of mud at the wall, and some of it stuck, and away you went.
Oh, that's 100% right. I mean, the amount of things that we did that failed are too numerous to count.
Wow. Okay. So I feel so much better now because with this business I've thrown a lot of mud at the wall, and I'm keeping on throwing mud. So you talk about you offer link building services and stuff like that. Let's dive in a bit deeper. I mean, there's so many different ways that people can offer and buy links. What are some of the big mistakes that people make, do you think, in terms of how they buy links? Or how they contract link building services?
Yeah, well, I mean, anyone that's cheap is probably someone you want to stick away from, because, I mean, Google scared the pants out of everyone about 2 years ago with their Penguin update, and they're looking for nasty links, and so if you're building cheap and spammy links, it's going to get you into hot water. Google wants good content added to the internet. It wants to index stuff that people want to read and people are interested in. So links should be focused around good quality content that if a real human sees it, then they're going to be interested in reading the article or the video or whatever the piece of content is that helps build your brand. It's it's got to be an all-inclusive method.
All right. So a typical campaign, what would be a typical, say, industry that the customer might be in?
Oh, I mean, we work with everyone from local plumbers to FX people. People doing. We just got a new contract with a guy that sells trucks. They're a big truck brand in Europe. Their trucks are a couple $100,000. So they can afford to spend a bit on link building.
Okay, that's great. So someone who runs a truck company, how would you go about doing content-based link building for them?
Well, that we actually work through an agency for them. So their advertising agency has contracted us to do their link development. And the first thing is to try and work out the keywords, work out what people are searching for. Straight off the bat, I'm not a guy that's in the market to buy a truck. But so you have to try and get into the mindset of a distribution company or the people that do buy industrial trucks. And see what problems that they're searching for that the truck's going to solve. They might be looking for low cost transportation or a more powerful engine, or you got to try and ascertain what problem that company's the solution for. Pick the right keywords and build those links.
Pick the right keywords and build those links. Okay. That's very, very succinct summary of what is probably a very complex topic. So do you go off and start writing a whole bunch of articles?
So I'm a software engineer, so I love building software, and we've got a pretty big team now that builds our software. Everything we do is controlled by that software, but everything's still done by hand. We've got a writing team that go and research the topics. So say you want to chase a keyword like economic transport methods, then they'll go and research the truck that they're writing for and write an article that's all about the economics of a truck, and then put that on a website that's all about transportation and have a nice link back to the customer. So it's about building quality content that the customer wouldn't mind having associated with their brand, that if a user of Google searches and finds that article, it's going to provide quality information that'll help them even justify them to buy that truck.
All right. So you said that you put it on a nice website that's relevant to transportation. Is this a website that you're building yourself? We have two methods of doing that. So we have a rather what's called a private blog network, which I probably shouldn't say out loud, but anyhow, we have a whole bunch of sites that we put together that are industry specific, and we're pretty careful about the way we do that. But the other method that we do is through outreach. So we'll go and contact people that might blog about trucks or transportation or engineering or whatever, and ask them if we can provide them content to put on their website. And we'll actually go one step better and promote that content for them. So in exchange for them putting an article on their website that links to our customer, we'll then promote that article through social media. We'll share it around on Facebook and Twitter and drive traffic to their website to help build their brand. All right. So just for people listening, we have the sound effects of Cambodia in the background just to explain the various sound effects of this episode. But that's great.
That lovely sound there is a guy selling what's called balut, which is a 2-week-old fertilized duck egg.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty stuff.
It doesn't sound particularly tasty, but I know that people are well into that kind of stuff in Southeast Asia. All right. Yeah. So one thing, though, I really wanted to touch upon with you on this conversation is reputation management. It's the very first time we've ever talked about this on the podcast. What is reputation management?
Well, I mean, there's an old adage that, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and only seconds to destroy it. So, it is really important to look after your reputation and see what's going on. People people can be nasty. People can write bad things about your company or you personally, and it's really important that you know that that's happening. So you should be Googling yourself. You should be Googling your brand and your products, and because when you're interacting with a new customer, that's probably the first thing they're going to do is who are you? Let's check out their reputation, and they want to see all the good things. And so if there are nasty things there, you want to try and deal with them the best you can.
Okay. And what are some examples of some nasty things that might be hidden under the sheets?
Well, we're working on a rather difficult project at the moment. He does investment training, property investment training in Australia, and the Australian ABC, which is the equivalent of like the BBC in the UK. They did an article about him that's not very endearing, and we're not sitting on either side of the fence. We're just working for our customer, and obviously the ABC has a lot of credibility and a huge authority. So to outrank them for a keyword, which is his name, is very challenging. But it's very much damaging his brand. So he's willing to make the investment to beat that.
Wow. Oh man, I want to know his name, but I know that that's probably not going to be conducive to this this podcast interview.
Yeah, it's probably something he wouldn't like us to talk about right now.
Okay, so what would you do? You'd put up articles about them on websites and then link build to those articles, or?
So what we have done for him is we've built out several websites that are all about him and his brand. And then we build out social media profiles for those, and then we build links to those. And then we're linking. So on the front page for his name is his website, then the ABC, and then his social media accounts. And so we're trying to build up heaps of authority on these other websites, and then have them linked to his social media accounts and push them up, and hopefully that will give them enough authority that they'll overjump the ABC.
Wow. Interesting. Let's take a less difficult example. I guess that's a pretty big one. He's come off in the ABC. What's a typical sort of one? Is that sort of thing typical? Someone getting controversial in the media?
Not at all. I mean, most people aren't that big a brand name anyway. I mean, he's got a very well established company. Another example of one that we're working on is a company that does PAT testing. It's like electrical testing in the UK. And their competitor was very nasty and has written a lot of bad reviews for them on like Google Plus and in forums and lots of nasty stuff. So with that, we've built a video for YouTube called Their Name and Review, and it's just a nice video about their services. And we've put that onto a really authoritative YouTube account, and so it's ranking straight up to the top. And so it's taking up a really big chunk. If you type their business name, review, you've now got this YouTube video that's right at the top, and it takes up a lot of that chunk, So it helps push down all the nasty bits. What
about in terms of the reviews themselves? So you got a lot of people that use, say, websites like TripAdvisor. Let's just say you have a client that is on a website where people actually visit these websites to look at the reviews, like your Yelps or your TripAdvisors or anything like that. Is there anything you can do to help those kinds of people?
There's actually a reputation firm that we are working with, and they told me one thing that they do with their customers, which I thought was brilliant. They hand out little cards. So this is for bricks and mortar businesses where you actually see your customers. And so it has a little card with a short URL or a QR code that you can scan. And it just takes you to a website that says, are you happy with our service? Yes or no. If you click yes, then it asks you to leave a review on TripAdvisor or G Plus or whatever, But if you hit no, then it just gives you a form to submit why you're not happy, and then that goes straight to the company so they can deal with it. A lot of the time you can, if you're speaking to a customer and you get why they're unhappy, you can, change that and fix whatever the issue is and, turn them back into a happy customer. But the main thing is that it doesn't go on the internet and, it stays between you two.
How does one sell reputation management?
That is a bit tricky. I mean, we've got a lead generation team, and so they actually go out and hunt people. So they'll go and search businesses that do have poor reputations. There's ways you can do that either through Yelp, through Google reviews. there's one avenue. There's this terrible website called the Ripoff Report, and anyone can post on that someone's a ripoff and here's the details why, and it ranks really well in the UK, the US, but there's no verification that you were even a customer or anything. But it ranks really well. And one thing we've done is gone through the report and find you can easily pretty much any report that's in there, you can just Google the business name and it'll be the business website and then the Ripoff Report. So, we can then contact them and say, well, are you aware of this? Have you checked your reputation? We can help you clean it up.
And how much damage does this kind of thing actually do to a business?
Well, I mean, it depends. Like, if someone's blatantly trying to destroy your reputation and they've got some big stupid post that just says, oh, this guy's a scammer or whatever, a lot of people can see through that and go, that's just rubbish. Your reputation is important. When you book a hotel, through hotels.com or booking.com, whatever, I'm sure you look at the reviews. So, it's going to affect your booking. So you should certainly look into it, but how much it affects it. It's hard to know your marketing channels.
And in terms of charging fees, what are some typical fees that you charge for reputation management, and how long does an engagement generally last for?
Okay, so that pat testing one, we're charging them $300 a month. We're not doing a whole lot of work for that. We can build some really kind of low quality links because we're trying to work on sites like Twitter and Facebook, which you're not going to get penalized, so it's okay. But this other guy, he's spending about 10 times that, and because he's really an authority, you're focusing on against ABC. It's going to take a whole lot more work, and we've been working his account for a couple months now, and we've had minimum results because it's taking so long to build up so much authority. I warned him that before we started, that he's in for the long game.
Yeah, well, I guess you have to be in the long game if you're going to be taking on ABC. All right, so reputation management versus link building, what is the most important part of your business?
Oh, certainly link building is where is our strong point and where we build. I mean, the main part of our business is working with SEO companies, mainly in Australia, and they deal with their customers day to day, the on-site changes, and what needs to be done there, and we do the off-page link building.
That's interesting. So, how have you found these SEO companies who are working with you?
So again, through a variety of techniques, cold email, cold calling, and one technique that works really well is actual postal letters. In fact, we just started a campaign in the US. I had a call this morning with a guy in Indianapolis. We sent him a letter, and he connected me directly on Skype, and can't wait to start a campaign with us.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of just typical web design agencies who listen to this podcast. Do you work with those kind of businesses?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing a lot of agencies, like web design guys, they don't have the time for this. I mean, building links is a full-time job. We've been doing it for 6 years now, and I spend time researching how to make our links more powerful all the time. You can't do that and focus on being good at web design.
All right, so about 20 or 15 episodes ago, we had pure white hat link builder on the show, and he focuses exclusively on the outreach to websites and stuff like this. And I know he's not such a big fan of this, some of these kinds of methods. What's your response to white hat, pure squeaky clean white hat builders who might criticize the whole blog network kind of idea? Yeah,
I mean, it's always return on investment. Yeah, I mean, we do outreach for link building, and we've got a UK guy that all he's doing is pounding the phone to the UK to get links, and it's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's really expensive. And from our measurable results, the links are of no high quality and get no better results. So why spend more money? That's what it comes down to for me.
Like it. So Kris, let's swing all the way back to Cambodia. I've been hanging on to ask about this the entire time. And the reason is I'm actually thinking of doing something similar myself, going out to Southeast Asia and hiring expats who happen to be in the area for whatever reason. Most expats, in my experience, are university educated. They're willing to work and all that kind of thing. And obviously, hiring a university educated Australian in, say, Thailand would be a lot more cost effective than hiring a university educated Australian in Australia. Is that the kind of thing you had in mind yourself?
Yeah, I mean, hiring expats here, it has a great cost advantage. Sure, their salaries are a lot less than in the West, but the cost of living is a lot less too. And so even with that smaller salary, they can be better off, with more disposable income and enjoying their life more. And heck, I love living here.
Yeah, I must admit, Chiang Mai in Thailand, great city to live. I was living there on about $750, $800 a month, and my lifestyle was probably better there than back in Melbourne. So that's a pretty extreme example, though. What's the cost of living like for you in Phnom Penh?
Well, I'm actually used to Filipino prices, so I find it really expensive.
All right.
I didn't live in Davao. I lived in Davao in the south of the Philippines, and the cost of living there is really cheap. Like, I had a really nice 3-bedroom house. It cost me about $500 a month. So $1,000 a month, and you're living like a king.
Wow, that's the attraction, I guess, in the adventure side of it as well. So, do you try to attract people to come out to these countries, or you try to find people who are already there?
Well, in the Philippines, we pretty much have exclusively Filipino staff. We got one American guy who's a salesman, and he's been living in the Philippines for years. I wouldn't try and attract someone to Davao because it is a very provincial town. Like, you either like living there and you found it on your own, or you wouldn't really want to go there, I imagine. But Phnom Penh is a really different ball game. Like, it's a very cosmopolitan town. There's every type of restaurant you can imagine here, from Mexican to French to local, and at every price point too. You can get dinner for $1. You can pay $100 for a good steak.
Wow, geez, it better be a bloody good steak for $100.
That might be a bit far fetched, but you know what I mean.
Cool. So you are hiring expats who are on the ground locally. What kind of people is that? I mean, Phnom Penh particularly, just from what I've heard from the outside, has a reputation for being kind of seedy.
I wouldn't call it that. I mean, the Prime Minister's wife, she forbids all strip clubs. So there's no strip clubs here. I think it's a pretty classy city. I like it a lot. I mean, the Buddhist element, I think that makes it very safe because they have a lot of respect, and there's very little crime here, and I don't mind walking down any dark alley at night time. I've always feel safe here. But the people that come here, I mean, we've got a few Westerners that work for us now, and that's growing. The people that come here are usually a bit adventurous, and they are looking for something different in life. They want a different experience than living in Australia or the UK, and they're here to experience, and they're generally here for a long time. Like, I want all of our staff to really be a part of the team and looking to stay here for a significant amount of time. So there's certainly questions that I ask in interviews.
All right, so a Westerner living in Phnom Penh, working for a company like yours, what kind of salary is the going rate over there?
Salaries for Westerners, and it's US dollars. It starts from teachers, I believe, can be about $700 to $1,000, and then like more professional staff can be $1,000 to $2,000. I do know of some guys working for other companies on around $3,000, but that's pretty high end.
So, in terms of your own rates, are you happy to discuss your own rates publicly?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sure, we can talk about that. I mean, SEO is never a one size fits all. Like link building for a plumber is not going to be the same as link building for an attorney.
Yeah, sure. So let's run through a couple of these examples then. So, link building for local plumber, typically how much would that run?
So our packages start at $297 US, and that's for 31 links a month. So that's about 1 link a day. It's not a whole bunch of links. We're not building millions of them. Everyone's done by hand and done by a professional, and it's all around really good content that's made specifically for your website. That's
actually a fair amount of links for that price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have thought. Like you're kind of talking about, how you almost implied that it's not that much for not that many links, but for me that's like, that's a lot of links.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at some of our competition, not that I try and compete with our competition, because everyone has their own strategies, and heck, ours works really good, so I don't really care what they're doing. But I do know that a lot of other people go for a lot higher number of links.
Okay, but then I think if you're gonna, I think your kind of pricing, if you're gonna push at any level below that, it'd be very, very hard to maintain quality.
Yeah, for sure. And I it's all about quality. Like, our sites, okay, they are just there for advertising our customers, but if you go to those sites, they're really nice sites. Every one of them has a terms and conditions, a privacy policy, about us page. There's articles on there that are just to add to the site. They're not linking out to anything. They're good quality sites that people are happy to have associated with their brand.
All right, so there's a concept going around of coconut handcuffs at the moment, which is what happens is you move out to a foreign country, you make a bit of money, but you don't make enough money to move back. Let's just say if you do want to go back to Australia, the UK, or the US, or something like that. Do you think this is a real issue that people face if they do move out to Southeast Asia? They can become trapped by what is a nice lifestyle out there, but a too low an income to realistically move back home?
It certainly could be. I mean, in the Philippines, it's a very different ballgame to here. Like, a lot of the expats that I know there that have been there 5, 10 plus years, they're used to not making very much money, and they start becoming less expats and much more Filipino. And so I see that their accommodation goes, the Philippines is not a rich country, and so most people don't have very nice houses. And I see that they start to move towards living in accommodation that I don't like, and living a lifestyle that I wouldn't appeal to me. But it seems different in Cambodia. The people here seem to be a lot more professional. A lot of the women here, the expat women, work for NGOs, and so they're volunteering, but they're only here for a year or two. And amazing people. Giving up a year of your time is pretty special. But the guys that are working, incomes are higher, and they do seem a lot more professional. So, but again, if you're only making a couple thousand a year, as long as you're saving some, I guess you can head back. But you're still keeping your skills alive, so you should be able to get a job when you get back too.
All right, sweet. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks, Kris. So people who want to check out your stuff, how will they do so?
Yeah, you can check out Ardor Media Factory. That's ARDOR, mediafactory.com. And send me an email. I'm happy to have a chat anytime.
All right, cool. Thanks, Kris.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, it's been a big week at Camp Tourism Tiger. We've got a new intern starting with us in a couple of weeks, and we've got another one starting a week after that. We're picking up clients, we're launching websites, we're improving the system. Everything's going crazy. But probably the biggest piece of news we have at the moment is that we probably won't be hanging around in Chile for too much longer. We'll probably be here for maybe 5 more months, and then we're going to be heading off. The current game plan is to actually head to, maybe after passing through 1 or 2 countries to avoid the European winter, to end up in Serbia. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but one thing I've discovered in my travels around the internet is that Eastern Europe is a really, really great place to hire people. So we're actually considering going there and thinking about putting down a local team. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that is what we're doing. Now, in the last week, what I had to do was I wrote a whole bunch of documentation to help clients get on board and to explain a lot of the questions that they have and stuff like that. I wrote 6 different documents, and that will hopefully reduce the amount of time I have to spend answering the repeated questions, and it's something I recommend to do just to gradually build up that list of documentation and write as a blog post and say, hey, thanks for the question. We actually wrote a blog post on the topic, and bang, it means you can actually write a much better quality response all in one go rather than writing half-assed emails every single time. That's what's happening over here. This week is a big week in Startup Chile, actually. We've got the pitch day, which means I have to spend a lot of time preparing my pitch and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be fun, and that's going to probably chew up enough of my time for the week. But also, I'm sorry that the webagencypodcast.com website has been going up and down sporadically. I'm not actually sure what the issue is there, but I'm trying to fix it now. Thank you to all the people who reached out and let me know, actually, that the website was down, because I was not aware until I got the message. So thank you once again. And I'm going to leave it there for that week. Not a huge amount of news, really, despite all my chatter about, everything being crazy. But don't forget, check out gathercontent.com. They will help you organize your customers' documentation and make it so much easier to basically get all the different types of content and make people see what content is left to actually give you. And obviously Remark.io, so easy to use. Just upload your Markdown document and away you go. And Markdown is so much easier than, say, HTML. It's just putting asterisks and a couple of symbols here and there, and bang, you have your formatted document. It's amazing. So check that out too. And everyone, have an absolutely fantastic week.